So welcome everybody to this latest video on 162 Maths, and in this video we'll be going over the AQA GCSE Maths June 2017 Higher Paper 3, which is a calculator paper. Now if you want a copy of the paper, there is a link to this in the description below, along with the grade boundaries of this individual paper and the overall higher grade boundaries for all three papers collated together. So let's get started on this June 2017 Paper 3 paper. So let's have a look at question 1. So question 1 looks at vectors, and we want to circle the vector that represents 2a plus b when a equals -4 minus 1 and b is 3 minus 1. So for this, what we'll do is multiply a by 2 and then add that to b. So what that then becomes is -8 minus 2 plus 3 minus 1. So then that then becomes -5 minus 3. So we want the first option. Question 2, it says which of these values of n makes 2.7 times 10 to the power n a cube number? Well, the nearest cube number it's going to be is 27. So what do you have to multiply this to get 27? Well, you need to multiply by 10, and 10 to the power 1 is 10. Answer. Question 3, it says rearrange 2x equals y over w, making w the subject. So for this, let's first of all take w over to the other side. So I get 2xw equals y. And if I treat 2x as a single entity, take it over to the other side, so I get w equals y over 2x, which is our third option. Then moving on to question 4, it says work out the bearing of C from A. So I'm starting at A and I want to go to C, so it's this bearing that I want, which if I add 130 plus 80 gives me 210. Moving on to question 5, it says that a coin lands on tails 200 times and the relative frequency of tails is 0.4. Work out the number of the times the coin was thrown. So basically from this, if we relate it to percentages, that 40% equals 200. So then to work out what 100% is, so if I divide that by 0.4, it gives me what the answer is, and if I do that on the calculator, I get an answer of 100. Now for question 6, it says, how are the whole numbers solutions to A and B different? Well, when you're solving an inequality with this sort of intervals, you need to make x the same, x by itself in the middle. So here what I need to do is divide both of them by 3. So A is going to be 1x to 6. So it can be 1 but not 6. And for B, it's going to be 1x equals 6, and this cannot be 1. Just leave this not right in bell. So it cannot be 1, but can be 6. Something along those lines would be absolutely fine for the second mark. And looking at question 7a, it says that the length of a pipe is 6 meters to nearest meter, complete the error interval. So for this, what we need to do is look at the rounding, which is the nearest meter, and we halve it. So it's going to be 0.5. So what we'll do to find the interval is add and subtract 0.5 to 6. So here I'm going to end up with 5.5 and 6.5. Then it says that a different pipe is 4 meters to the nearest meter. So again, looking at this, that's going to have the 3.5 L to 4.5. And Ollie says that the total length of the two pipes is 11 meters to nearest meter. Give an example to show that he could be correct. Well, if we go for the biggest length of the first pipe, which is going to be 6.49, let's say, and we add that to the biggest length of the second pipe, which is going to be 4.4, if we're rounding to 1 decimal place, then what's that's going to give me? Well, that's going to give me 10.89. And then this rounded to the nearest meter is going to equal 11 meters, which is what they've asked me to show. Looking at question 8, it says this shape is made from 2 triangles and 4 congruent parallelograms. For each statement, tick the correct boxes. And the first one says the triangles are equilateral. Now we know that 2 of the sides must be the same, because if there are congruent sort of parallelograms, then these sides need to be the same for each other. However, there's no sort of expectations in terms of what that length is, so it could be true. The next one, it says that the triangles are congruent. Well, again, that must be true for the shape, the actual diagram takes place. Now, for question 9, it says there are 720 boys and 700 girls in a school. The probability that a boy is chosen at random, studies French, is 2/3. Probability a girl is chosen at random, studies French, is 3/5. Work out the number of students who's at school who study French. So for this, what we need to do is we need to work out what 2/3 of 720 on, that's the boys. And then for the girls, we need to work out what 3/5 of 700. Now, if I just simply type that into my calculator, the question is, what answers will I be getting? And again, what we then just need to do is type that into our calculator. So we can do either divide by 3 times by 2, or we can just simply enter it as we go, in which we're going to end up with 480 and 420. So then to work out the total number, all we then need to do is simply add those two numbers up, and we get an answer of 900. Question B, it says work out the probability that students chosen at random from the whole school does not study French. Well, then what we need to do here is, in terms of not studies French, well, that's going to be the total sum of students, which is 720 plus 700, take away from 900, and that's going to give me an answer of 520. And then the total number of students at the school, which is going to be 1,420, so it's going to be 520 over 1420, which should simplify to give me 26 over 71. Moving on to question 10, it says A, B, C, D, E, F are straight lines, and the question says Ava assumes that A, B are parallel. What answer should she get for angle Y? Well, if these two lengths here are parallel, then we're looking at either corresponding alternate angles, opposite angles, etc. So if those two lines there are parallel, what answer should I get for Y? Well, Y is here. Well, I know then that this angle needs to be the same, so let's first work out X. I've got 2x plus 10 equals 3x minus 20, because these angles here are going to be corresponding. So in working this out, I get x equals 30. Then if x equals 30, so if x equals 30, then 3x minus 20 is going to be 360 minus 20, which is going to be 70. So then y is going to equal 180 minus 70, which gives me an answer of 110 degrees. Now that question says that in fact A and B are not parallel, AB and CD are not parallel, and angle W is 60 degrees. What effects does this have on the size of angle Y? Let's go back to this particular question and we eliminate the fact that all of this is true. Now we know that the angle W is going to be 60, so that means then that for B, let's write it here, that if W equals 60, then 2x plus 10 equals 60 because they are opposite. Now if that is the case, then 2x is going to equal 50, so x equals 25 degrees. Now if x equals 25, then 3x minus 20 is going to equal 55 degrees. And then if this angle here is 55 degrees, then angle Y is going to be 180 minus 55, which gives me an answer of, just to make sure that I don't botch this up, we get an answer of 25 degrees. So Y equals, and it's going to be 125 degrees. So therefore, our answer has got bigger. And our supporting answer is what I've written. So looking at question 11, it says purple paint is made by mixing red paint and blue paint in the ratio of 5:2. Jan has 30 litres of red paint and 9 litres of blue paint. What is the maximum amount of purple paint he can make? So let's first of all start off by writing the ratio out. So we've got red to blue in the ratio of 5:2. Now what we'll do is try and max out these paints. So if we start off by having blue paint as 9, what do you have to multiply this? Well, I need to multiply 2 parts by 4.5. If I then multiply 5 by 4.5, then that's going to give me a ratio of, well, a value of 5 times 4.5, which gives me an answer of 22.5. Now from this, which is fine because I've got 30 litres of red paint, so this is going to be the maximum amount of each of those colour paints that I can make. So the max purple paint I can make, that Jan can make, is going to be 22.5 plus 9, which is 31.5 litres. Then looking at question 12, it says ARB equals to the power of 4 equals 16R to the power of 20, where A and B are positive integers. Work out A and B. What I'm trying to do is have things that are comparable. Now ARB to the power of 4 is going to be A to the power of 4 and then R to the power of 4B. Now from this, if I then compare this to our coefficients, I've got 16R20. So that means that A to the power of 4 must equal 16. So A to the power of 4 equals 16. So if I do the fourth root of 16, I get an answer of 2, which means that A equals 2. Now here, from this, I can see that 4B must equal 20. So 4B equals 20. So therefore B must equal. Moving on to question 13, it says, in a class there are of 28 students, the mean height of 12 boys is 1.58 meters. The mean height of all 28 students is 1.52. Work out the mean height of the girls. Now for this, what we need to do is work out the heights of all the students, which I've been told here. So let's first of all work out the total height of all the boys. So total height of boys. And that's going to be the mean times how many there are. So that's going to be 1.58 times 12. If I type that into my calculator, 1.58 times 12, I get a total length of 18.96 meters. Now, in terms of the mean height of all, the total height of everyone, and girls, is going to be 28 times 1.52. So from this, I've got 28 times 1.52 gives me an answer of 42.56. So what I want to do then is work out the total heights of all the girls, which is going to be 42.56 minus 18.96, which gives me an answer of 23.6 meters. And then working out how many girls there are, the number of girls is going to be 28 minus 12, which is 16. So then to work out the mean height of the girls, it's going to be 23.6 divided by 16, which gives me an answer of 1.475. Then moving on to question 14, it says that there are x, y equals c, where c is a constant. Circle the correct statement. And so from this, our correct statement is going to be that y is directly proportional to 1 over x, which is our second option. Because here again, what you want to do is make y the subject. So here we've got xy equals c. So y equals c over x, where c is going to be our constant. So therefore, that's where we get. Now for question 15, it says the graph shows the depth of water in a harbour for 12 hours. D is the depth of water in the harbour in meters, and T is the number of hours after 9 AM. So part 15.8 says for how many hours of the 12 hours was the depth more than 5 meters. So what we need to do is draw a line at 5, about there, and then we're counting the number of hours where it's above the line. So where the curve, the black curve, is above that sort of purpley reddish line. And so working that out, well, the number of hours it's below the line is between 7 and 11, which is 4 hours. If you then do 12, take away 4, which gives me an answer of 8. Now for part B, it says by how much does the depth change from 12 noon to 4 p.m. Now remember that this here is at 9 a.m. So that's going to be 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 18. So this is the time. So at 12 noon, so it's from this point here, so where it's at 8 to 4 o'clock, which is here, and that's there. And so what's the difference between 8 and 5? It's 3. Moving on to question 16, it says the value of a new car is £18,000. The value of the car decreases by 25% in the first year, 12% in each of the next 4 years. Work out the value of the car after 5 years. So first of all, let's work out the after 1 year. It's going to be 18,000 times 0.75. And then what I then need to do is then multiply that answer by 0.88 to the power of 4. So what you type into your calculator is basically 18,000 times 0.75, which is the price after 1 year, and then the 4 consecutive years after that. So type that into your calculator, 18,000 times 0.75 times 0.88 to the power of 4, and that gives me an answer of £8,095.89. Moving on to question 17, it says that Liam drives his car. He drives for the first 9 miles in 9 minutes, and then he drives an average speed of 70 miles per hour for 1 hour and 36 minutes. He finds this information about his car. Use the information to show that his car uses less than 3 gallons of petrol for the drive. Now to work this question out, we need to work out, obviously it's worth 5 marks, so we need to work out a fair bit of information in terms of before we get started working out the answer. So looking at his first stage, so he drives first 9 miles at 9 minutes, which means that in this he is going to be travelling, so for the first 9 miles he's going to be driving at 9 divided by 9, which is 1, so he's driving at 60 miles per hour in that first stage. Then what we then need to do is do 9 divided by, in terms of how long, divided by the 50, because obviously we need to work out how many gallons. The number of gallons in that first section then is going to be 9 divided by 50, which gives me an answer of 0.18. Now from that, what we then need to do is we then look at what's the total distance travelled in the second section. So the total distance in that second stage is going to be speed multiplied by time. Now for this we need to work in hours, so what we need to do is convert this. So it's going to be 70 times, and then it's 1 because it's 1 hour, and then 36 over 60. Now if I work that out, it's going to give me an answer of 112 miles. Now from this I should have all the components that I need to then work out this answer. So first thing we then need to do is do 112 divided by 40, because I need to work out how many gallons he's using, and that should give me an answer of 2.8 gallons for that second stage. Then I need to work out the number of gallons for his second stage. So for this, then all I then need to do is work out, well, I've done 0.18. So then if I then add this all up, I get 2.98 gallons used. So the question says that it uses less, so 2.98 is less than 3. So then I've then gone on to show what I needed to. For question 18, it says Nick sketches the graph of y equals 0.5x, where x is greater than 0. Make one criticism of his sketch. Well, one criticism is going to be is that when x equals 0, 0.5, anything to the power of 0 is going to equal 1, not 0.5, which is what he's plotted. So that should be at 1, not. So in other words, what you could write is the graph or the curve should intercept y-axis at 1, not 0.5. So something along those lines would be fine to get you the 1 mark. Then moving on to question 19, which looks at circle theorems. It says A, B, C, D, and E are points on the circle. B, F, D, and A, F, C are on the straight lines, and DC equals DF. Work out the size of angle X. You must show you're working out, and which may be on the diagram, which is great, which means we don't actually need to state any proofs because we've just gone there, but we will do anyway. So let's have a look at what the key bits of information are. So we know that DC, which is there, has been marked. So these two lengths here are there. So the triangle DCF is going to be an isosceles. Now, one thing I can see straight away is that this angle here is 24 degrees. And the reason for that is because it is a bow. Now, I don't need to give the definition. I can just give the names of the theorems. So that's going to be 24. Now, because this triangle of DFC is an isosceles, and this is 24, then to work out what this angle here is going to be 180 minus 24, all divided by 2, which then do 180, take away 24, divided by 2, gives me 78 degrees. So this angle here is 78 degrees, and so is this angle here. And I can see that A, F, and C is on a straight line, which therefore means that as AFC is on a straight line, then x plus 2x plus 78 must add up to 180. Now simplifying that, get 3x plus 78 equals 180. Take the 78 over to the other side, in which I get 3x equals 102, and 102 divided by 3 gives me an x value of 30 degrees. So looking at question 20, it says this sign shows when a lift is safe to use. Total mass of people must be 450 kilograms or less. Ben and some other people are in the lift. Their total mass is 525 kilograms to the nearest 5 kilograms. Ben gets out. He has a mass of 78 kilograms to the nearest kilogram. Is the lift now safe to use? And you must show you're working out. So in terms of the total mass, let's have a look at the upper and lower bounds. So total mass. Now, because the nearest 5, I'm going to do 5 divided by 2, which is 2.5. So that's going to be 525 plus or minus 2.5. The total mass of the people is going to be any number between 522.5 to 527.5. Now, in terms of Ben's weight, well, the upper and lower bound for this is going to be plus or minus 0.5 to 78, which is going to be 77.5 to 78.5. Now, what we want is a worst case scenario. So worst case scenario is that all those people weighed the maximum weight and Ben weighs the smallest amount, because when we take away these numbers, we want to get the maximum number. So we want the biggest number, take away the smallest possible number. So we do 527.5 minus 77.5, which is going to give me an answer of 450. Is that 450 or less? So the answer is yes, it's going to be safe. Then moving on to question 21, it says here is a sketch of y equals f of x, and f of x is a quadratic function. The graph intersects the x-axis where x is minus 2.5 and 1. Circle the solutions of the where f of x is greater than 1. So what we're looking for is this region here. Now that region there is where x is bigger than 2.5 but smaller than 1. So that's what we're looking for, and so it's going to be option the bottom left. Moving on to question 22, it says work out the expression of the nth term of this quadratic sequence. Give your answer in the form of this. Now this is going to be quite a few watts. We've got 3 minutes to get this done, so let's get it done. So first thing I want to do is work out the double difference. So I've got 2, 17, 40 and 71. So looking at this, I've got 15, I've got 23, I've got 31. And then the double difference is going to be 8. So then 4n squared is going to be the formula. So from this, if I look at working with this, I've got n, and I've got 1, 2, 3, 4. I've got the numbers in the sequence, which is 2, 17, 40, and 41. I know that 4n squared is going to be in the formula. So what I've then got is 4 times, 1 squared is 1, times 4 is 4, 2 squared is 4, times 4 is going to give me 16. 3 squared is 9, times 4 is 36. 4 squared is 16, times 4 is 64. Now in terms of the difference between these two numbers, so this is going to be take away 2, this is going to be plus 1, that's going to be plus 4, and this is going to be a heck of a lot of the number, which is, I don't know, so that's going to be 7. So from this, what we've got in working out the term for this is going to be plus 3. So then we've got 3n. And then how do I get from 3 to minus 2? Well, I need to take away 5. So then all I then need to do is combine these two things together. I've got 4n squared plus 3n minus 5. So looking at question 23, it says here is a sketch of y equals x squared plus bx plus c. The curve intersects the x-axis at 5, 0, point P, and the y-axis at 0, minus 10. And we'll work out the x-ordinates of the turning point. So in terms of turning points of the graph, what we need to then do is get it in the form of completing the square. But before we do that, we need to work out what b and c is. Now to find the x-intercept, also say the y-intercept, what you need to do is make x equal 0. So if I make x equal 0, what I'm then going to get is I'm going to get c equals, and then because the y-intercept is minus 10, so that means that c must equal minus 10. Now in terms of the y-intercept, so to find the x-intercept rather, I need to make y equal to 0. So what I then end up with is x squared plus bx minus 10 equals, and then what I'm going to then get in terms of solutions, well, if I call that a, then I know that something plus a and minus 5. Now if I expand this out, what I need to do is show, well, in terms of comparing the coefficients, that if I multiply 5 times a, I should get minus 10. So minus 5a equals minus 10. So a equals 2. So then what I've got is I've got y equals x plus 2, x minus 5, in which if I then go on to expand that out, I get x squared minus 3x minus 10. So this is the equation. Now what I then need to do is I need to write that in completing the square form. So I've got x squared minus 3x minus 10. So if I set up my bracket, minus 10 minus, and it's going to be 9 over 4. And then just go on to simplify that. So I've got x minus 3 over 2 squared minus, and it's going to be 10. Just typing that all into my calculator. I get minus 49 over 4. And the question's asking me for the x-ordinate. Well, the x-ordinate, so the turning point coordinate is going to be at 3 over 2, minus 49 over 4, in which it's just asking for the x-ordinate, which is 3 over 2, or 1.5. So looking at question 24, it says a ball is thrown from a point 6 meters above ground level. The graph shows the height of the ball above the ground in meters. Estimate the speed of the ball in milliseconds after 1 second. So for this, what we need to do is draw a tangent at 1 second, because obviously speed is equal to distance over time. So then what we then need to do is draw a tangent at that point. So if I do my best. Now you can either zoom in really carefully, but you want to try and do is draw. It's going to be very difficult on this. So let's zoom in as best that we can. And so what you want to do is draw a straight line through that point, and then what you then want to do is work out the tangent to this. So it's basically how many number of squares that you can see. So here I've got roughly around about 5, and going across I've got about 7. Then the estimated speed is going to be 5/7 meters per second. Now in terms of question 25, it says that a rectangle ABCD is the horizontal base of a triangular prism. It says A to E is equal to B to E. E is vertically above M at the midpoint, and AB and A to E, so let's just start labeling this actually. So A to B is 16, B to C is 30, and A to E is 17. And the question is saying show that the height of this is going to be 15 centimeters. So in terms of this, what we need to use is use Pythagoras. So if I take that triangle out and just label the points, so I've got A, E, and M. This length here is going to be half, which is going to be 8, and that's going to be 17, and this is what I then need to find. So it's going to be 17 squared equals x squared plus 8 squared. So then x squared equals 17 squared minus 8 squared, and 17 squared minus 8 squared gives me an answer of 225. And so x equals the square root of 225, which equals 15 centimeters. Now for part B, it says work out the size of angle ECM. So ECM is this angle here. Now in order to work that out, what I need to do is I need to work out what the length of M to C is, and I need to know what one of the other two heights are. Now I know that this height here is 15, so let's take this triangle out of context. So here, if I look at, it's basically 3D Pythagoras. So looking at this triangle, so let me move on to here. I've got the triangle, let's label the points. So I've got MB and it was C, and M to C is what I need, so I've got 30 and 8, so 30 and 8, and if I just label this side as Y, so MC squared equals 30 squared plus 8 squared, so MC squared is going to equal, I'm typing it into my calculator, 30 squared plus 8 squared gives me an answer of 964. Now I'm going to leave that as it is, so MC equals the square root of 964. Now working with the triangle that I need to, which is EMC, in which I've got MCE. Now M to C is root 964, E to M is 15, and the angle that I'm wanting is the angle at C, so it's this angle here I need to find. I need to use trig, so it's going to be tan x equals opposite, which is 15, over the adjacent, which is root of 964, which if I then simply work that out, I've got 15 divided by, well, inverse tan of 15 over root 964, which gives me an answer, and that equals x. So x equals 25.821 decimal. So looking at question 26, it says here is an L shape, all the dimensions are in centimeters, and the information tells me that the area of the L shape is 65. I need to work out the value of x. So before we get started, what we need to do is work out what these two missing lengths of the L shape is. Now this length here is going to be 9 minus 3x plus 1, which gives me 8 minus 3x. And this length here is going to be simply just 10 minus x. If I split the shape up into these two sort of compound areas, that this area here is going to be 9x, and this area here is going to be 10 minus x, 3x plus 1. Now with the total area equals 65, if I simply add these two areas up, it should add up to 65. So what we end up with is 10 minus x and 3x plus 1 plus 9x equals 65. Now if I expand these two brackets out, end up with 10 plus 30x minus 3x minus x, and what I'm also then going to end up, actually we've missed out an x squared, so that should be a squared there, plus 9x equals 65. So neatening all of this side up, I've got 3 minus 3x squared, and it's going to be minus plus 29, no, yeah, plus 29 plus 9, which is plus 38x plus 10 equals 65. Now if I take all of this to the other side to make x squared positive, I end up with 3x squared, and it's going to be minus 38x, and then plus 55, which equals 0. Now the next thing I then need to do is to factorize and solve this. Now this does actually factorize, so it's going to be 3x plus minus 5 and x minus 11 equals 0, or alternately what you can do is you can use the formula to solve, in which then the answers we get for x is that x can either equal 5 over 3 or it can equal 11. Now in terms of the actual answers, well, x can't equal 11, so it cannot equal 11, and the reason it can't be is because if one of the sides is 10 minus x, if x is 11, we end up with a negative length, which you can't have, so your final answer can only be 5 over 3. Moving on to question 27, it says, which is our last question, it says that prove that x squared plus x plus 1 is always positive. Now for this, what you want to kind of do is show that the maximum point or value is greater than 0. Now for this, what we need to do is use completing the square. So we've got x squared plus x plus 1. If we can do that in completing the square, we get x plus a half squared plus 1 minus a half squared. So I've got x plus a half squared plus 1 minus a quarter. So I've got x plus a half squared, and that's going to be plus 3 quarters. So here the maximum value is going to be 3 quarters, which is positive. And again, that should be enough. Now other alternatives you could have to prove that it's always positive, again, is just going on to solve in terms of showing that your answer can be solvable, and in terms of quadratics you can use that, and as long as your description is going to be fine, then that's going to be absolutely okay. Could you get away with plotting the graph? Yes, I could say you could plot it, and basically what you're showing is that when you plot this particular graph, that it doesn't cross the x-axis. So here you want to show that when using the formula, so using the formula gives no solutions, because obviously if there's solutions, it means that the curve crosses the x-axis, so therefore it can be negative. So it's always going to give you positive values, but I would say completing the square is probably the most efficient way of doing this. And that concludes this paper. Now we'll put the grade boundaries in the description below so you can see once you've marked it what grade you've attained for this individual paper. And I'll also include the overall grade boundaries for the 2017 higher GCSE paper so you can see what grade you would have got with your accumulated score.